In September 2004, a lavish wedding took place in Mumbai, India, amidst the joy of two prestigious families. Samira Chauhan and Devin Basin had just exchanged sacred vows, marking the beginning of a perfect marriage. But no one expected that just a few hours later, a terrible tragedy would occur on their wedding night. Amidst the splendid scenery of a luxury hotel, a horrific murder occurred in their honeymoon room. Devin Basin was found dead with multiple fatal wounds and blood all over the hotel floor. The wedding night that was supposed to be filled with happiness turned into the beginning of an unforeseen tragedy. Samira Chauhan was born into a wealthy family in Mumbai. She is the daughter of an import-export businessman and grew up surrounded by luxury and the best education. She studied business administration at Delhi University, where she stood out for her beauty and charm. From a young age, Samira was used to being pampered. She had everything she wanted without trying too hard: designer clothes, foreign trips, lavish parties, all were part of her life. But despite all this, Samira was never satisfied. She was fiercely ambitious and always wanted more. Samira was intelligent and manipulative. She knew how to use her beauty and charm to get her way. While in college, she was not only a good student but also the center of attention. There was no shortage of suitors, but she didn't settle for just any of them. She wasn't looking for love, she was looking for power. After graduating, Samira didn't want to follow in her family's footsteps. She craved a life of luxury, but she didn't want to be bound by the rigid rules of the corporate world. Instead of sitting behind a desk, she enjoyed parties, socializing with the elite, and forging profitable relationships. She quickly became a fixture at Mumbai's glitzy events, where she came into contact with the rich and powerful. But Samira's ambitions didn't stop there. She realized that her charm could be a more powerful weapon than anything else. She began using it to influence men with money and power. She didn't have to work hard, just pick the right ones and know how to get them to do what she wanted. By the time she turned 28, Samira had a long list of wealthy lovers, but she had yet to find a real opportunity to rise to the position she desired. She didn't want to be just a pretty woman who relied on men. She wanted to be someone who could control them, and she knew she needed a bigger, bolder plan. It was at a high society party that Samira and Devin met. It was a lavish event at a 5-star hotel in central Mumbai, a gathering of businessmen, celebrities, and the elite. Samira appeared with a gorgeous appearance in an expensive evening gown, wavy hair, a charming smile, and sharp eyes. She attracted all eyes as soon as she entered, but it was Devin who caught her attention the most. Devin Basin was born in 1978 and came from a middle-class family, but he rose by his own strength. He is a successful businessman in the financial sector, owning many significant assets. At the age of 26, he is not the type of person who is easily fascinated by external beauty, but Samira was unlike any woman he had ever met before. She is not only beautiful but also intelligent, skillful, and has an irresistible charm. From the first moment he saw her, Devin was attracted. Throughout the party, he could not take his eyes off Samira. When he had the opportunity to chat with her, he quickly realized that she not only possessed charming beauty but was also very sharp. The two quickly found common ground in their conversation. Devin is a serious man who believes in love and marriage. He longed for a happy family with his ideal wife, and when he looked at Samira, he believed that she was the one. Samira quickly realized Devin's concerns. She understood that he was not an ordinary man. He had money and status, but more importantly, he was a man of principle, responsible, and the type of man who could protect his woman. For Samira, this was a perfect opportunity. The two chatted throughout the party, forgetting about the guests around them. Devin was fascinated by Samira's intelligence and charming way of speaking, and she subtly created silences so that he could take the initiative to learn more about her. When the party ended, Devin took the initiative to ask to meet Samira again. She did not refuse but cleverly made him feel like she was the one pursuing him. From that first meeting, the two quickly had more dates. They went to dinner together at fancy restaurants, attended events, and enjoyed happy moments together. Devin became more and more certain that Samira was the woman he had been looking for all this time. He loved her confidence, independence, and the way she understood him. After just a few conversations, Samira knew how to make a man feel special, and that made Devin more and more immersed in this relationship. Samira also played her role perfectly. She always showed herself to be a delicate woman, knowing how to listen and support Devin. She never appeared too dependent but was close enough to make him feel that she truly appreciated him. This made Devon love her even more, and from a simple relationship, the feelings between the two grew deeper and deeper. After just a few months, Devon and Samira became a couple admired by many. They appeared together at big events, always showing the image of a perfect couple. Devon's friends and colleagues all thought that he had found a worthy woman to marry. The two's relationship lasted for 6 months, and both families quickly arranged an engagement and a grand wedding held at a 5-star hotel in Mumbai. Everything happened quickly, but no one was surprised. Devon was always decisive in everything, and when he was sure of his feelings for Samira, he did not want to delay any longer. His family was happy to see their son find a beautiful, intelligent woman who was suitable for his status. Samira's family also had no reason to object because Devon was a successful businessman, a perfect choice for her. During the entire wedding preparation process, Devon was always supported by Mehta, his best friend since college. Is a talented, generous man with strong charisma. He was not only the best man at the wedding but also played an important role in organizing the event. As someone experienced in relationships, was quickly attracted to Samira from the first time he met her. Samira noticed it too. On's eyes, when looking at her, did not hide his interest. At first, their relationship stopped at the level of social conversations during the wedding preparation meetings. But the more they interacted, the more they realized that there was an uncontrollable attraction between them. Whenever Devon was busy with work, Samira and On had many opportunities to be together. Everything started with looks that lasted longer than usual, accidental but meaningful touches. Every time Samira felt a current of electricity running through her body, she knew she was playing with fire, but she could not resist On's charm. And then, late one night after a pre-wedding party, all boundaries were broken. Samira and On stayed late to take care of some wedding preparations. Devon had left early for an important meeting the next morning. They were alone in the lavishly decorated hotel room, surrounded by wedding invitations, guest lists, and detailed plans. A glass of wine, a suggestive smile, an unstoppable gaze, and then they were thrust into each other. The affair began uncontrollably. Every evening when Devon was absent, there were secret messages and fleeting but provocative touches between family meetings. They found each other in the hidden corners of the hotel and in private rooms where no one knew. Samira knew full well that she did not love On, but the danger and excitement of a forbidden love made her unable to stop. On, unlike Devon, was a person who was not bound by strict moral codes. He loved adventure and the feeling of conquest, and having Samira, the woman who was about to become his best friend's wife, made him feel more excited than ever. Samira always appeared to Devon as the perfect bride-to-be, but when night fell, she was a completely different person. When she was with On, whenever Devon excitedly talked about the wedding, Samira felt an inexplicable thrill, as if betraying him at this stage made her feel in control. The affair lasted throughout the months leading up to the wedding. No one suspected anything because no one could imagine that Samira, the woman Devon loved and trusted the most, could betray him right before the wedding, and On, his closest friend, was part of that betrayal. In September 2004, Devon and Samira's wedding night took place at a lavish 5-star hotel in Mumbai. After a grand party attended by hundreds of guests, the newlyweds returned to their room. The air was still filled with the scent of wine, and roses were strewn all over the bed, creating the perfect setting for their first night as husband and wife. Samira was dressed in a thin silk nightgown, her hair loose, smiling charmingly, but there was no excitement in her heart. Meanwhile, Devon was filled with happiness, hugging his wife and softly whispering about the future ahead. But his joy did not last long. Just a few hours later, Devon's phone rang. He received a notification from the front desk about a room reservation for a guest from afar. Being the considerate person he was, he immediately put on his coat and told Samira that he needed to go down to the front desk to take care of some work. Samira nodded, giving a small smile. But as soon as the door closed, she quickly stood up. This was the moment she had been waiting for. She opened the door to her room, stealthily glanced around down the hallway to make sure no one was there, and then quickly walked into the next room, On's. She knocked 3 times, as if on cue. The door opened, and On pulled her in, holding her tightly. They threw themselves at each other like two people yearning for forbidden love. Samira felt a surge of excitement, not because of love, but because of the danger. On their wedding night, as soon as Devon left, she was in the arms of another man. But what they didn't expect was that Devon noticed something was wrong. When he returned to the room after about 20 minutes, he didn't find his wife. At first, he thought she might be in the bathroom, but when he called out to her without getting an answer, he began to worry. A feeling of unease crept into his heart. He opened the door, stepped out into the hallway, and immediately saw what made his heart clench: Ann's door was ajar. A bad feeling welled up in him. Devon walked over and pushed the door open. The sight inside the room left him speechless. Samira and Ann were kissing on the bed, still immersed in the passion of their illicit affair, unaware that someone was watching. In that moment, Devon was petrified. Everything he had ever believed in collapsed. The woman he loved, the woman he had promised to build a happy family with, had betrayed him on their wedding night. And the one who betrayed her was none other than Ann, his best friend. This blatant betrayal made Devon unable to control himself. He rushed at Ann, grabbed him by the collar, and punched him hard in the face. Ann staggered to the floor, blood flowing from the corner of his mouth, but Devon was not done yet. His anger exploded. He continued to hit Ann, forcing him to roll on the floor to avoid the powerful punches. Samira screamed, trying to stop him, but Devon did not listen. He grabbed Ann by the collar, demanding an explanation, but Ann had nothing to say. His eyes flashed with fear but were also mixed with indifference. In the chaos, Samira looked around the room, her hands unconsciously searching for something to stop Devon. Then she saw a heavy crystal vase on the table. Without thinking much, Samira picked up the vase and smashed it hard on Devon's head. The collision was deafening. Devon staggered, let go of Ann, and held his head with both hands. His eyes darkened. He took a few steps back and fell to the floor, blood beginning to spread, staining the pure white carpet. Ann panicked and knelt beside Devon. He placed his hand on his friend's neck to check his heartbeat. His heart was still beating, but very weakly. Samira was also panicking, but she quickly regained her composure. She knew that if they were discovered, they would never get away with it. Instead of calling the police, Samira suggested that they stage a fake robbery. They quickly wiped up the traces. Ann wiped the blood off the floor with a towel, while Samira rearranged the scene. She shuffled the furniture, opened drawers, and threw a few items on the floor to make it look like someone had been rummaging through them. After making sure the scene was convincing enough, Samira called the receptionist with a panicked voice, "Please help us, my husband is being attacked, someone has broken into his room." The hotel staff immediately raised the alarm. Within minutes, hotel security and paramedics arrived. They found Devon lying unconscious on the floor, blood still flowing from his head. Ann and Samira played the role of panicked victims, claiming they heard a noise, ran over, and saw Devon beaten. The police were quickly called, but no one suspected Samira or Ann. The evidence they had created was too perfect. The police concluded that it was a botched robbery and the attacker had fled. Devon was taken to the hospital that night. He was still alive, but had suffered severe head injuries. Doctors said that he might fall into a coma, and even if he woke up, he could have memory loss or serious neurological complications. Samira and Ann stood outside the hospital room pretending to be worried, but deep down, they knew that if Devon woke up, things wouldn't be so easy. They thought they could get away with it, but no one knew that secrets can never be hidden forever. As the police investigated further, they quickly discovered many unusual points in the attack that Samira and Ann had staged. Initially, the scene was set up quite perfectly, but when forensic experts analyzed it carefully, they found no signs of a break-in. The room door showed no signs of being forced open, and there were no strange fingerprints in the room other than those of the people involved. These small but important details began to make the police suspicious. The hotel staff also confirmed that they did not see anyone suspicious going in or out of Devon's floor at the time of the incident. From there, the police decided to check the hotel security cameras, and it was the recorded video that completely changed the situation of the case. At 1 a.m., the hallway camera recorded Samira leaving the bridal chamber and sneaking into Ann's room. This was completely contrary to her previous statement that she was in the room the entire time Devon left. The police also discovered that Ann only returned to Devon's room after hearing a scream, not before, as he had claimed. During the forensic examination, another important piece of evidence appeared: a small blood stain on Samira's dress. DNA testing showed that it was Devon's blood. This completely contradicted Samira's statement that she did not touch her husband after discovering he was injured. Realizing that there were more and more suspicious points, the police decided to summon Samira and Ann for further questioning. At first, Both of them tried to stay calm, continuing to stick to the story of a fake robbery. But when faced with undeniable evidence, the psychological pressure began to weigh on them. On, who was not a man of strong will, quickly collapsed under the constant questioning of the investigator. He broke out in a sweat, and his hands trembled. After hours of mental struggle, he finally put his head down on the table and confessed the whole truth. He said that he and Samira had been having an affair for months before their wedding. That night, when Devon left the room, they took the opportunity to meet. He admitted that he was the one who initiated the relationship but also admitted that Samira never had any intention of stopping. On recounted the entire details of the fight between him, Devon, and Samira. When Devon attacked On, Samira panicked, and in a fit of rage, she picked up a crystal vase and smashed it hard on her husband's head. That blow knocked Devon unconscious, leaving blood all over the floor. But what was worse was their plan to cover up the crime. On said that it was Samira who suggested staging a fake robbery to distract the investigation. She ordered the evidence to be cleaned up, the furniture to be tampered with, and arranged the scene to make people believe that Devon had been attacked by an intruder. Then, she made herself look like a panicked victim when she called the hotel reception to report the incident. When the police heard this confession, they knew that Samira was the one responsible for the incident. With all the evidence from the security cameras, the blood on her dress, and On's confession, the police immediately arrested Samira on charges of premeditated murder. The moment she was handcuffed, Samira tried to stay calm. She didn't scream or overreact. She just stared at On, her eyes cold and filled with hatred. He was the one who betrayed her, he was the one who destroyed everything they had tried to hide. But now, all the blame was meaningless. On was also arrested soon after as an accessory to murder. When he was taken out of the hotel, he did not dare to look straight at anyone. His face was pale with fear. Everything he had ever known, his friendship with Devon, his life of luxury, his image as a gentleman, had now come crashing down. They were taken to the Samira and On were locked up in jail awaiting trial. The news of the case quickly spread through Mumbai's high society. A perfect couple in the eyes of everyone, their lavish wedding ended in a shocking murder. Devon's family was devastated when they learned the truth. They could not believe that their son had been betrayed in such a cruel way by his newlywed wife and best friend. Meanwhile, Samira's lawyer tried to defend her, but with the overwhelming evidence, there was little chance of her getting away with it. Samira and On's trial was a public outrage. An affair that led to murder on the wedding night was unprecedented. What had once been one of Mumbai's most lavish weddings had turned into a terrible tragedy. Devon's family was devastated, the upper class was shocked, and the media continuously reported on the case. The courtroom was packed, and everyone wanted to witness the fate of the two traitors. The prosecutor presented a series of irrefutable pieces of evidence: security camera footage of Samira sneaking into On's room at dawn, bloodstains on her dress, and On's detailed testimony. Forensic experts confirmed that Devon could not have been injured in a fake robbery, but that it was Samira's powerful blow with a crystal decanter that knocked him to the floor. Under the pressure of irrefutable evidence, the jury took only a few hours to reach a final verdict. Samira Chauhan was sentenced to 25 years in prison for murder. When she heard the verdict, she did not cry, did not beg, she just silently bowed her head, knowing that everything was over. From an ambitious woman, she was now just a murderer behind bars. On Mehta, as an accomplice in the cover-up, was sentenced to 10 years in prison. He was completely broken and no longer had his splendor, only belated remorse. Devon's family could not accept this heartbreaking truth. They lost their only son to the cruel betrayal of his most trusted wife. The wedding that should have been the beginning of happiness turned into a tragedy that shook the entire city. The trial finally ended, but the lessons of betrayal, lust, and greed still resonated. Samira Chauhan once had it all: beauty, wealth, a dream marriage. She could have enjoyed a life of luxury and fame with her loving husband. But because of a few moments of illicit passion, because of her guilty excitement with On, she lost it all. The wedding night, which should have been the beginning of a new chapter of happiness, became the end of her life. From a symbol of glamour and success, Samira was now just a prisoner facing 25 years behind bars. The gorgeous dresses were replaced by drab prison clothes. The lavish parties were now a distant memory. In prison, there was no one to admire her, no more admiring glances or compliments. There were only long, lonely days where she was imprisoned by her own mistakes. A promising future collapsed because of bottomless greed.